people, and some have damage to cars and homes from trees or debris that's not their tree or debris.
So a lot of viewers asked us, are you responsible for damaging your neighbor's property if the damage came from your yard? 13 News Now reporter Megan Shin sat down with the experts to find out.
It's the cleanup stage and damage control for many in Hampton Roads. Driving around the area, we've seen broken homes from downed trees and debris. Many of you reached out to us to ask if you are responsible for the damage at a neighbor's home if the damage comes from your yard. So we went straight to the experts at Old Dominion University.
Oh, I hear about it a lot.
Michael McShane says the answer to this question comes down to one insurance rule.
That's the act of God clause. I don't think most people know about it. Most people would probably say, well, it's my tree, so I should be responsible.
However, McShane says the clause determines who's responsible based on the health of the tree.
That tree looked healthy. I couldn't have known that it was going to blow down on my neighbor's property, so I am not liable.
Meaning your neighbor's insurance would pay for the damage. But if your tree is unhealthy,
you would not likely be found negligent, so you would not be found liable.
So insurance would also cover the damage to your neighbor's property, meaning we can verify that you are not responsible for the damage on your neighbor's property if it comes from your yard. But McShane warns the insurance company determines the health of a tree.
I always recommend if there's any damage to your neighbor's property that you offer to pay for any out-of-pocket expenses just to maintain good neighborly relations, which are priceless.
In Norfolk, Megan Shin, 13 News Now.